You know, as I've been listening to that poem and your talk and Terry's song about being the change, it occurs to me that every single one of us, you know, the song we have been singing every Sunday at the closing of service, it's in every one of us, to be wise. I believe that's the truth. I believe that that is the whole truth. And sometimes we blink in and out of wisdom, don't we? We forget the truth of our being. And so this idea, this whole month, we're working with this idea that we have to be self-reflective. We've got to take time to pay attention to how we're showing up. If we're not taking time to pay attention to how we show up, how can we know that we might need to change some of the ways we're showing up so that we can bring forth a more peaceful way of being, a more compassionate way of being? We really do have to be self-reflective if we're going to live a soul-centered life. And part of this reflection is based on this idea that when we're reflective, when we get in touch with the truth, the power of the truth, which is really the energy of the divine moving in and through everything and us too, when we get in touch with that, we have a better chance of understanding life. And I love what Alma says. He says when we really are a wise one, step into this holy wisdom, this quality of holy wisdom that he talks about, he says that when we do that, we have the opportunity to actually trust life. Because we see the patterns. We see how things start to unfold. We see the unfolding universe, and we start to get it, like Carl Sagan says, that we're all in this thing together, that we're all part of one big field of energy. And like the opening readings that Roger Walsh has in his book, everything we do, everything we say, everything we think makes a difference. It affects everything else. There's this ripple effect. That's why I picked this image, this PowerPoint image, this idea. When we walk in the world, we need to walk our wisdom because we're part of the energy of the universe. And everywhere we go, we make a difference. It's about walking our wisdom. And what Glenda said is so true. We know a lot. Yes? We know a lot. Most of us are intelligent beings. In one area, we're probably more intelligent than others, you know, than other areas. So we know a lot. But if we confuse that kind of knowing with basic wisdom, understanding that we're part of the universe, understanding how things all work together, seeing the big picture. I love the story of the runner, the race. Talk about, now see, you know where wisdom lives? Wisdom doesn't live yesterday, and it doesn't live tomorrow. Wisdom lives in the moment. Wisdom lives in the moment of choice, how you perceive something, how you act, how you show up in the moment. Now, you can reflect on whether or not you were wise, and you can do all these wonderful practices to cultivate a greater capacity to make wise choices. But I got to tell you, your wisdom shows up in a moment, on the spot. That young man that ran that race didn't plan ahead for what he found in that moment. He didn't plan to be, you know, see the big picture, to bring big mind and a big heart to that experience. That happened on the spot. The wisdom of sticking to your values that say winning isn't everything. That's a value, folks. Winning isn't everything. Sympathetic joy, exactly. Being able to be happy with the fact that this man was the certain winner and let him win even though he made a mistake. Probably there are a few runners who would have taken that course. So we get to choose to be wise on the spot. We don't get another choice. Now we can go back and, you know, do some damage repair, clear up the wreckage after the fact, but the wise decision, the wise choice, the wise word, the wise impression comes right where we're standing in the moment. And when we get it, when we really get and understand the way life unfolds in a real systematic, dynamic, organized way, it's so much easier for us to really be present with whatever shows up. Most of what shows up is uninvited for us. Most of the stuff that comes to us on a moment-by-moment basis is uninvited. We don't get to plan it. We can do our best. We can do our best to arrange our life in exactly the way we want it to show up, but it certainly has been the case in my life. Most things show up kind of as a big surprise. Yeah, spontaneously. And in that moment, I get to decide how I respond, how I react. Hopefully I'm responding and not reacting. Sometimes I'm reacting because, I love what Roger Walsh says. He says that we alternate between wisdom and forgetfulness. We're always, we've got the potential for both, to be very wise or to be very forgetful. To blink in and out, I like that terminology. To blink in and out of wisdom. Yeah? We blink in and out of wisdom. Yeah. Because, really, wisdom is just the flip side of being ignorant or being unskillful. And so we're always at a choice point. And so when we're remembering the truth of who we are, when we're remembering these values, these holy qualities that we hope to live by, when we actually are in alignment with that, we're remembering that we're part of this incredible energy of the divine, and we know that our energy is affecting everything else, then hopefully we show up most of the time with this understanding wisdom. And we're not blinking into forgetfulness and ignorance. But you know what? We will. We all will. We're all going to be doing both. And so our work is to look at how we're showing up, pay attention to the way we show up, and try to show up as often as possible as this incredible energy of the divine. See, a lot of times what happens to us when we're forgetting, when we're not being wise, when we're forgetting who we are, we're forgetting that we're all part of this incredible energy of the divine expressing, what happens is we get stuck in what Eckhart Tolle calls our pain body. We're stuck in our ego stuff. We're stuck in the, do anything to win mode. We're stuck in, our woundedness or our anger or our fears. We get stuck in those qualities that sort of blindside us so that we're not able to show up making the choice to be loving, to be kind, to be peace, to be the change that we want to see in the world, because we're so distracted by this other stuff that's getting our attention, this pain body, these projections that get in the way. We're forgetting the truth of who we are. We're forgetting the truth of the experience, and often we're forgetting that when these things are coming to us, and it's just part of the pattern of the whole. I love Roger Walsh's work. He uses the image of the mandala as part of, sort of a symbol for how we are in the world. It's this incredible pattern of unfolding events, and when we really get it, that that's what's happening, it's so much easier for us to be present with whatever shows up. All of this uninvited stuff, you see. We're influenced by all this, and how we respond influences what comes next. So if we're responding from anger or hatred or upset or fear or this unskillful behavior, that will then have this trickle-down effect to what comes next. When we're responding from this place of great wisdom, that makes a huge difference. It's important how we walk in the world. Like Linda said, we've met many, many well-learned people, many scholarly people. We've met a lot of people who tell us they've had these epiphanies and these incredible spiritual awakenings. And the proof of the pudding is the walk in the world. This is where wisdom is. This is the wise aspect of the way we show up. And when we can actually walk our wisdom, that's a whole different thing. So I'm going to talk about the Christian tradition has a story, a parable, about the wisdom of Solomon. Often when you hear wisdom, it's about the wisdom of Solomon. And so, like the runner who had the choice to either speed ahead and win at all costs, or to take a different choice and help the other guy win because he was the winner really, we have to be able to see how the big picture unfolds. And I like the story of the wisdom of Solomon because, you know, this is, all of us have within us this capacity to see the big picture, to step back from the immediacy of whatever's going on and see how it could unfold and act from that place. And so in the wisdom of Solomon, the story, those of you who are not from the Christian tradition or maybe have forgotten, maybe some of you have blocked it out of your memory, because I know we've got some religious abuse going on in some of our lives. The story is that there are two women came to Solomon, King Solomon, and they both claimed that an infant was their baby. They were the mother of this infant. And in his wisdom, neither one of the women would give an inch. They were both very, very sure, it's my baby, my baby, my baby. Seeing the big picture, trusting his own, coming forth with this energy of a choice, a decision, Solomon said, okay, well, then the only thing we can do is cut the baby in half and give each of you half of the baby. And in his wisdom, he knew that the real mother would rather see her baby go to the mother, the other person that wasn't the mother, than to see the baby killed and cut in half. You see? This is about Solomon's wisdom. About Solomon's wisdom to be able to step back, see the big enough picture, to know that the quality of the mother's love would rise above the circumstances of this experience, and in that way the true mother would show up. Did I make sense there? Yeah. Does that make sense? So when we're at a choice point in our own life, we got to be big enough to step back, look at the whole picture, so that we can see an appropriate action to take. And by the way, there's no lessons on this, folks. There is no lesson on this. It's in the moment. It's how it shows up. And sometimes we take one action, and sometimes we take another action, depending on the circumstances. That's why it's on the spot. Wisdom is on the spot. And so when we look at everything that goes on for us in our life experience, as Roger Bosch says, as a schoolhouse for the soul, to bring us to our highest and holiest good, if we understand that this is it, folks, this is Earth School, this is where we get to demonstrate our wisdom, our knowing that we're connected with all of it, our knowing that we're part of the energy of the universe, our knowing that how we walk in the world is a reflection of the expression of our own divinity. This is where we get to do that, to bring understanding and appreciation to our life experience in the moment, not sometime else, to live it as a deep understanding of our connection with each other. And that it's a heart connection. It's not a head connection, it's a heart connection. Who we are and how we are in the world makes a huge difference. These being qualities that Glenda talked about, that Maslow teaches, hugely important. What we say, do, or think affects everything and everybody, and it creates consequences in the unfolded pattern of the universe. And our call is to make wise decisions. Our call is to make a decision that is most life-affirming, coming from a place of love, coming from a place that's not tainted by our ego stuff or our pain body or our anger, our fear, our wanting to win at any cost, whatever that looks like. So we get to choose. The invitation is we get to choose how we experience our experiences. We're a choice, 100% of the time. We get to choose. How do we respond? How do we respond? How do we respond right now in this moment? We get to decide whether or not we numb out to life and just go bumbling through life, or tune in and pay attention to the way we're showing up. We get to decide if we want to open to the depth of the moment, see beyond the surface experience, or just sort of float around on the surface of life and not go very deep. Just sort of, hit the highlights and not go very deep, not pay attention. We get to decide if we really want to pay attention to the way we show up so that we can actually live a soul-centered life. And you know what? We get to take 100% responsibility for how we show up, for the wisdom that we bring forth in every single moment, with every breath, with every decision. And when we take responsibility for that, and we do our best so that hopefully we're showing up in our wisdom more often than our forgetfulness, in our skillfulness more often than our unskillfulness, in our understanding more often than our ignorance. When we do that, we open ourselves to live in this peace that Terry sang about, to live in this grace, in this place of immense love. So that's your invitation. Pay attention. Remember that it's the way you walk in the world that demonstrates your wisdom, not what you know with your head.